People who have met their online friends, what made you instantly regret it? Not instant regret, but did make me realize things could have gone badly if this friend hadn't been a good human. I used to play Halo 2 with a guy, Molested Spartan. I always thought the name was hilarious, and he said it was what Xbox randomly assigned him when he let XBL choose his username. That has nothing to do with how the event went, just his name in case he's on Reddit lol. We were playing Halo one day and I made some off-the-wall comment about how bad traffic was due to them redoing one of our local roads, and he said his town was redoing a lot of roads too. I think I had a friend over here coming over, and I forgot to mute my mic and said the road he lived on, asking when he had to leave come over. Again, this was 15 years ago. A little fuzzy. Anyways, Molested Spartan was like, holy crap, do you live in XYZ? And I told him yeah. Turns out he lived like 5 miles away from me on the other side of town. We met up. I was about 11 or 12 at the time. He was like 17, and he went and bought me a burger and milkshake while we chatted. Pretty cool dude from what I remember, but when I got home I thought about how different that could have been if he wasn't just some high schooler trying to make a kid's night with a burger and shake. My brother met a girl in person that he had known for 4 or 5 years online, during which time they had kind of had an online relationship. She had brought her friend with her to meet him, and while they were sitting around a table awkwardly making conversation, with my brother apparently quite shocked at how bad she looked in person compared to how she looked online, and having absolutely no interest in her other than his friends, the girl sent her friend a message saying, "Oh my god, get me out of here. He's looking at me like he wants to jump me." But she accidentally sent it to my brother. What ensued was likely incredibly painful to be part of. My brother showed her his phone and looked at her in disgust. I am leaving to meet them abroad in less than 24 hours. Thanks for the good sign, man. Maybe not regret it, but it gave me years of depression. I met my best friend through Minecraft, never made friends in this, and I just wanted to play with someone. I have no idea why, so I complimented this girl's skin. We started talking. She was American. I'm Polish and my English sucked. We moved to Skype, and at first I mostly typed, but later on she started teaching me English somehow by talking with me. She was 1 year older. We knew each other for almost a year, and I was staying up all night just to talk to her and her friends that she introduced to me. She was also depressed, so we talked with each other, and she was the first person that truly listened to me. We had plans of visiting each other, and then our mutual friend told me she committed suicide. 4 years passed by, and now at least I can talk about it and not cry. Still miss her very much though. I met my old friend on Roblox about 3 years ago, but he turned out to be like 40. She flew in town to be a bridesmaid in my wedding, and she decided to cheat on her husband with one of the groomsmen and blame me for that, because it was my wedding, so that clearly makes it my fault she was unfaithful. Met a girl I really liked on Wow, but she lived in another country. After a couple of vacations it turned into a relationship. Made the decision to move and start a new life there with her. After living there for 4 months I slowly realized she was crazy as hell. Huge mood swings paired with outlet of aggression. Ended up getting stabbed in the side by her while asleep. Needless to say, after getting out of the hospital I took the first plane back home. She's still in a psychiatric hospital. I invited him over to my house and he shat all over my toilet. Just to clarify, it was not in the toilet, it was on the seat and a bit of it landed on the floor. It was supposed to be a date. She had her hand on another guy's leg at the bar. I did a Grandpa Simpson at the burlesque. I have weird story about a lesbian I met online and eventually in real life. For reference, I'm a B-girl. We started talking after I made a comment on a lesbian forum about being a single lesbian mom. I still didn't know if I was bi or lesbian at the time. We started messaging a lot. Hundreds of texts a day. This included shrexting and trading nudes a lot too. But she was always obsessed with my daughter, like almost demanding pictures of her and updates on her. Eventually we arranged to meet up. When we finally see each other in person she looks shocked and asks where my daughter was, being babysat by mom so we can have a date. I could tell this threw her off a bit. After our date we start hooking up at my place. Even then she was still asking about her. After this, can I meet her? Would you let me babysit? Do you think she'll start calling me mommy? I was like, chill, she's 1.5. This combined with her being obsessed with my daughter's stuff, including stealing a pacifier, a dirty onesie, going through the diaper pail. I decided this lady is crazy. She ended up stalking me for a while, but I was moving back in with my mom anyway, so I managed to escape. The fact the guy kept calling his exes crazy. He forgot I know several of his exes and they still are the least craziest people I know. When I was in high school, I met a guy from a different high school in a local chat room. We hit it off, and after a few days we agreed to meet up at the store I worked at once I finished work. Well, I guess he showed up a little early, with a friend, and came through my check stand. I thought it was him. We'd swapped photos, but I was really shy and didn't want to be wrong. I waited for him to introduce himself, but he never did, and he and his friend paid for whatever they had and left without conversation. I was still hopeful it wasn't the guy, so I waited up for him for an hour after my shift. Of course, he never showed, because it absolutely was the guy. He must have been disappointed when he met me in the checkout line and, instead of being a decent person and saying he wasn't interested, he just ghosted me. If I could go back in time, I definitely would have said something to him at the check stand. That's my one regret. Do dating app people count? Because he told me he was a vampire within 10 minutes. When I was 14, I had an online friend 2 states away who was 14. He and his mom took a trip to TLC me, and the first thing we did when we saw each other was run full speed at one another. Our heads bounced off each other and I chipped my tooth and broke his braces. I'm pretty sure his front tooth was also loose and had to go to the dentist to fix it. Lol. Met up with a friend I met and wow, I fell down steps. Instead of helping her or asking if I am okay, she laughed hard, like not breathing, on the floor, gasping for air. Seal clapping hard. We've been friends for like 8 years ever since that, and she still reminds me. Friend for 6 years flies over to Australia to hang with me for a month. Little did I know he was a bit taller than me. I was 5'10" inches. He was, well, 6'7" inches. I never knew he was this tall. He never talked about it. And when I was at the Brisbane airport waiting for him, I texted him stating, "I don't know where you are," to which he replied, "Look up. Towering over everyone is this blonde guy that has the arm span of the airport lobby." I cried. We laughed, and I regret bringing him over, because my ceiling almost hits his head. We went to a convention and he drunkenly told me and my boyfriend that he wished we weren't together so he could sleep with me. It was very awkward, and he's lucky my boyfriend, now husband, is a patient man. When I was 19, I jumped on a flight to meet a friend I had known for about 4 or 5 months. We both went through family bereavements and were a shoulder to cry on for each other, via the phone or internet, and we just decided to meet for a few days in a country between us. Until then, everything had been perfect. She was the coolest girl, really smart, the kind of person you want to be around all the time. When we met, things started great, but a day later she confessed, "You're not what I expected." What? 19-year-old and not very confident? This knocked me sideways. I don't know. Just, you seem different. I never hid who I was before we met. Was completely open, and it put a real sour taste on the rest of my time with her. Instead of chatting non-stop and watching Jackass on TV in the hotel at night, we went quiet and straight to sleep, ate in silence. I put as much effort as I could into it, but I still never got to the bottom of how I was different. We went our separate ways, texted for a few days and never spoke again. Not quite an instant regret, but there were 2 people I was meeting, Maisie and Maya, for the purpose of the story. We'd discuss meeting again, planned to have sleepovers, just generally have fun. The first day we met up, it went really well. We all had a good time. I thought it went brilliantly. Then a few weeks later I found out they were carrying out all the plans without me. They still have sleepovers to this day when Maya is back from uni and I'm just left out. I don't speak to either of them anymore. It hurt. Lol. Turns out my internet friend was a registered Shreks offender. He was a former high school teacher who was having Shreks with one of his 15-year-old students. I thought the guy seemed a bit odd, but when I saw the headline in the newspaper, a lot about his strange reclusive lifestyle started making sense. We are no longer friends. Never actually met him, but played Apex with the dude pretty regularly, almost every day. We finally exchanged info, and then he used to call me repeatedly in depressed fits and itch about how girls don't like him. It sucks cause I wanted to help, but like, once it hit 36 calls in one day, I had to block colon. Dude was wearing like half a fursuit. I just turned around and texted that something came up and I couldn't make it. I actually worked with this lady at the time. She was good looking and very flirtatious. Most importantly, we both played World of Warcraft at its prime. She ended up inviting me to join her server, and being a then honey 20-something, I, of course, joined up. We played for a time and had a good PvP group going. Her regulars. Of course she was still flirty with me in game and I was back. All in group chat. Either way, we had some great times together slaying players in PvP. Summer comes and it's a company barbecue. I find out she's bringing one of our PvP partners to the event. Cool. It was her husband, a cop. I've been virtually Shrexting her in game in front of him for 3 months. Made a RuneScape friend and chatted on and off for several years. He ended up being nearest to my town and we decided to get some food. Things were going great until a black man and white woman came in, and he whispered, completely seriously, "I hate interracial couples." The lady was crazy. We met through an app that was advertised as a meet friends app and not a dating app. Well, turns out, it was a dating app. However, she put in her bio that she was married with 2 kids. I put that I was in a long-term relationship and looking for friends. By the way, I'm a guy. She wasn't. So when we arranged to meet up, her husband and 2 kids were there as well as my girlfriend. Everything was going great. Hung out a few times and added each other on Facebook. Turns out, she was super into the whole breastfeeding in public thing. Like, I get it. You go girl! But she was super obsessed with it. 4 out of every 5 pics she posted to Facebook was her boob in her kid's mouth. She hot angry when you looked away when in public. Like, she wanted you to stare at her while she breastfed. Just got to the point that I was super uncomfortable with it and moved on.